What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we are at Inverness Disc Golf Course talking about one of the most popular discs in the world that I'm just really not a fan of. That's right, you saw it in the thumbnail. We're talking about the Zani. Oh, Zani. Making us wonder. How are you doing today, Paul? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
We are back with another installment of the Best for Beginners series where we take discs and compare them, and I talk about what is best for beginners. And this overstable putt and approach slot is one that I think some people could argue, hey, I don't know that that's best for beginners, but one shot that we talk about all the time in disc golf is the most reliable shot in disc golf is the Hyzer. And overstable putt and approach discs are discs that are designed to lean into that Hyzer angle. When you put the outside of the edge down, whether you're throwing a backhand or you're throwing a forehand, that outside edge being down, that crescent moon shape that we're talking about, that crescent moon is the Hyzer, and overstable discs are designed to lean into that Hyzer, which means they can be extremely accurate. But the Zone, while being the most popular option, was preceded by another disc that you may have heard about here on the channel. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Pig. Pig is love, Pig is life, but one of the things about the Pig released and approved on May 20th, 2008. And what would come out 8 days later? May 28th, 2008. Yeah, that's right. The Zone came out. So for everyone who's trying to say, you know, the Zone was it, the Zone was it, I'm just saying, one of these got approved before the other. But no, truly, I love the Pig. Obviously, I've built somewhat of a brand around the Pig. I have a pig literally tattooed on my arm, which is why this stamp is so funny to me, because it's a pig with a Robbie C tattoo, since I have a pig tattoo. But in the comparison, I would say that this would be the battle that people would like to see. However, I'm not a huge fan of the Zone, and I'm very much a fan of the Pig. And so I wanted to give you alternative options that are not the Pig and that are not the Zone, but feel a lot more similar to the Zone. But maybe you don't love it for the plastic type. Maybe you don't love it for the hand feel. Whatever that may be, we want to give you 3 alternatives to the Zone, and that's what we're talking about today. Starting with the oldest option that we have as an alternative is the Discmania Tactic. This was approved January 16th, 2020. So right before COVID and that whole boom happened, the Tactic came out. Fantastic overstable putt and approach disc. Flight numbers are 4203, and today we have it in the Neo plastic, which is their premium plastic. It's also important to note that Pigs, there's only been one really good run of premium plastic in recent date. And so because of that, it's definitely a drawback for the Pig if you like that premium plastic feel. Second, in terms of newness, in April 5th, 2021, the Toro got released by Innova Champion Discs. The Toro was released for Calvin Heimberg, and he kind of leaned into it, but it's definitely, I would say, their Zone option when it comes to things. And then the third option, getting approved last year, 2023, January 30th, 2023, we have the Axiom Tempo, which is the gyro alternative. And I've heard people even say, when I went to the store to even pick up that Tactic, the guy working the store was like, I thought the Entropy was their alternative. But one thing you're going to notice about all of these is that 2 out of the 3 at least have a good bit of shallowness to them, which is one of the things that people love about the Zone. First comparison, you've got the Zone and the Pig. You can see that the Pig has a little more depth to it, which means that you, especially on forehands, can get a little bit more pop off of it. Of the options we're using today, the Tactic is probably the deepest of those options. This is the Tempo, which is actually probably the most shallow that we have today. For gyro throwers, mentioned that they wish that there was something between the Entropy and the Tempo, but the Tempo is very shallow. Could be really great if you have smaller hands. And last but not least, we have the Toro, which comes in almost the exact same dimensions as the Pig. Like, I'm literally locking these two parting lines into each other. So we have a host of options available to us. Once again, these are incredibly popular, so we're going to talk about their less popular alternatives or even newer alternatives and see what we would think gets the best for beginners stamp. I have an idea already. Now we're gonna look at these in a couple different ways, but traditionally when we've done these videos in the Best for Beginner series in the past, we throw it on really like 5 or 6 holes, trying to showcase flat, Hyzer, AnHyzer, distance, and just standard shot, looking at those. Because these are traditionally thrown on shorter shots, because they are more overstable, they're not necessarily designed to go super, super far. Obviously, people change that all the time, and they end up throwing them pretty far. We're gonna be throwing them on a variety of different shapes, and rather than like necessarily distance shots, I'm gonna try to throw half of them on forehand, half of them on backhand. That way you guys can get a feel. So we're gonna try just to get loose, see what we can. This is not really a hole, but just gives us some alternative options. Let's just see. Okay, overstable. Also overstable, last but not least. Okay. That's fantastic. They're all flying pretty overstable. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab those, we'll come back, throw forehands at it, and then we'll head into the course. We're gonna go tactic first. I'm gonna try to lay it up short and not smash my camera. Oof. Okay. I knew that the Tempo had like a shallower feel to it, so I wanted to make sure. Yeah. Tempo and the Toro, both shallower discs, and because they're shallow on forehands, I end up really struggling with that. So I tried to overcorrect on the Tempo, which is why I just yeeted it way far left. Definitely gonna keep note of that, because you'll see when we end up throwing forehand holes, that is one of the biggest reasons that I dislike the zone, is that shallowness. Obviously the Tactic, another thing's right next to the basket. Thought we were gonna take out the camera. All right, 270 feet. The thing about this course, especially if you're playing shorts, is I throw my pig on 12 of the 18 tee shots, and honestly, probably 2 or 3 of the ones that I don't have as a pig in my mind, I throw a polecat on, and I could probably throw Precious Child just as comfortably. This one I'm throwing a pig on because there's a water feature that goes up and around and in towards the basket. So I want to throw it straight kind of at that back tree wall right there, but then I want it to fade in. And I don't want it to fade in too harshly, because if it does, it gets really hard to penetrate there, like into the pocket of the green, if you're going really overstable. So throwing a couple fresh discs like this could be tough. Normally when I throw a pig, I throw a straight pig, or they call me Mr. Pig. We're going Hyzers, just kind of high at that back wall and crashing in, seeing if we can make a putt, get down there. That's really all we're looking for here. And we're really gonna have to figure out, A, how to get that Tactic back, but B, we gotta get these releases a lot straighter. There's Toro, much better. Okay, the Tempo, definitely the straightest of the options. I'm trying to decide if I want to record this so you guys can see the escapade of me trying to clear this water. Woo! Now the question, getting back over. We're back on this side. Let's throw our upshot. It's gonna be real bad, because I could just end up right in the water again. Nope. I'm not gonna allow that to happen. Gotta remember, I'm putting with overstable putt and approach discs, so they're gonna fall left no matter what I do. Like that, literally. What did I just get done saying? More zip, more pizzazz. Tempo with our first birdie. Toro, yeah, I mean, Toro had a great shot. Tactic, we just got a hold of, we got a little too much grip on it. Let's head off to the next hole. All right, here we are, hole 3, our next hole. We're gonna try to demonstrate just a little bit of AnHyzer, because it's 230 feet. Traditionally, I'm throwing Precious Child here, just kind of right at the basket, Precious Child or polecat, depending on the day. You can see the basket sort of sitting off like middle of the hill, a little bit to the right of that singular tree in the dead middle of the hill. If you clear the hill in the air, 9 times out of 10, you're getting some roll away, especially if you're throwing a really overstable disc like we have here. So, like I said, we're gonna try to throw these with some AnHyzer, sort of there's like a V tree, and then there's another tree just right of it. Kind of throwing it on AnHyzer at that and letting these fight out. Should be hopefully able to just crush these at it. That's got to hit a barn. Okay, so Tactic could be way far past. Tempo. Well, it's very convenient that it just decided to come right back to us. Toro. Toro's the most overstable. At least it seems. We were able to get over on the Tactic a good bit more. Toro's up there in tempo. We'll just do the tempo on the next hole. Ooh, sailed it. Let's see if Tactic picks up the solo too here. High. Wow. To be that downhill from a basket and still miss high. Okay, I've got to give the Tactic way more credit for the amount of glide that it has. Holy cannoli. Sorry. 3 for the Tactic, 4 for the Toro, 4 and an asterisk for the tempo. Okay, so let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room that is depth, and it is 100%, I would argue, the biggest thing that I dislike about the zone, and that is when you have a disc that is so shallow, you can see that my finger is like popping out of the rim. So when I go to throw forehands, because of the fact that I am generating a ton of power on a forehand with my wrist, when I come to throw these forehands, because of this, the disc, when I go to push the shot, it's like it pops off of my finger back here rather than me being able to hit my hit point. So I lose a ton of them soft early because I literally cannot stay in the disc enough to try to send it on its intended trajectory. Now, the adjustment to that is that you can grip sort of harder, create more tension in your pinch, whether it's on your backhand or whether you're pinching on a forehand, to try to hang on to it. Obviously, what that ends up happening is, like you saw in my first throw of the tempo, I over pinch and I grip block it, or I'm afraid that it's gonna slip out on the backhand, because here, once again, I'm trying to dig my fingers into it and turn the shot. And when I gotta do that, I over pinch again, boof, and grip block it to the right. So if it's not deep enough, I really struggle with that. We're gonna give her a chance. There's a blue basket that is honestly kind of inconvenient. There's a yellow basket that's a little further down. It's 246 feet away, downhill. We're gonna try to hit a nice fairway path, throw a flat forehand, and let the disc do the work. Okay. It actually had a little bit of turn to it. Now, part of the turn I'm wondering is because did I just hit too many trees with it? And now I've accidentally made Justin's tempo understable. Let's see on the Toro. Yeah. Oh, that was gonna be nice. It was hovering towards, that was gonna be real nice. Tactic, our deepest solution here, but also has the most glide. Let's see what she does. Okay, I just kind of turned all of them over. Maybe a little too, I got too excited on the downhill, and we do have headwind coming up here, so maybe that was it as well. But the Toro, definitely the smoothest flight out of them. We'll see what happens when we get down there. This is one of those classic don't bite the hand that feeds situations where I really love that basket location. We're blessed to have both basket locations have a pin in them, which is wonderful. The problem is that on a couple of these holes, these baskets are very much in the line to actually get to the desired ones. Like here, we hit a tree, and then instead of skipping forward and skipping down, I hit the pole of this instead of getting further down there. Hit him with a scuba and just sit right next to the basket. Death putt, we're not running that. Here we go, Mr. Toro. And we've left ourselves a tester once again. Let's test this a little more. I'm gonna give her a little AnHyzer and just let her fade into the basket. Yeah, just park it right next to it. And I realized on this hole, y'all, Tempo, Tactic, Toro, all 3 tees. All right, so we have ourselves a little bit of a close race here. I guess we gotta give it to the one that has the box. Tempo's got the box. We're playing to a short little blue basket off to the left, 195 feet. You kind of just got to throw it into the main gap and then let it fade out. Key is don't grip lock it like I have been on the other ones. That's beautiful. That one's a little more nose up. Didn't give that one enough of a chance. You can just see the stability difference between the Tempo versus the Tactic that we threw on Hyzer wide, and they just fought in and got the same place. Whereas the Tempo already is having a little bit of flip up to it, riding straight. Two great options. Toro, once again, has just as much stability, but I don't know that the Toro is as, it does what it needs to. I'm just not, maybe it's not for me. We want to give this a bid, but it can't really go too far because we're already going to lose the stroke to the other disc on this hole. So softed it, left ourselves a tester once again with the Toro. But I do like that it's super overstable like that, which brings me to why a lot of people like the Zone. So not only does the Zone have overstability to it, but I would say that the Zone flies a lot more like a mid-range. And because it flies like a mid-range, if you don't throw it on a ton of speed, similar to that we did with the Toro right there, it ends up actually having even more overstability because it throws and flies like a mid-range. Unlike the Pig, it flies more like a putter, and when thrown soft, still flies in that putter flight. Another reason that I ended up going with the Pig versus something else is the first overstable putt and approach disc that I ended up finding was the AVR X3 by Innova Champion Discs. The problem was, as my game developed and I started using it more for forehand approaches and things like that, I found that even with a Champion AVR X3, if I threw it on a forehand hard at about 250 feet, that was about the point where it stopped having stability and it just rode really straight. And this disc, I want to make sure that no matter what plastic it's in that, I want to make sure that it has some stability to it. And I think that the Tactic for sure has that. The Toro for sure has that. I'm not quite sure on the Tempo, but once again, I don't know that with the shallowness of this Tempo, I don't know that I could throw this thing 250 feet smooth on a forehand, because I think I would slip out of the disc before I was able to actually rip it there. So we're going forehand here, blue basket, straight middle of the hill. It's just a big swooping Hyzer. Try to rang it up. Yeah, see, it just pushes really straight. Part of that, once again, over pinched, but I mean, we're just smashing these. I'm hitting these so well. They're holding so straight. But I should have noticed with the leaves coming at me that we've got headwind. And that is parked right behind the basket. Looks like the Toro could get one back here. Tempo got inside the circle for this basket. Tactic also got inside the circle for that basket. This is one that I think we just got to kind of... The other one I was like Hyzer again, big rollaway potential. This is just a straight... And then the Toro right here. Toro got one too. Tough look out here for that Tactic, dude. So last piece of why the Zone, I don't dislike the Zone for this, but I am jealous of the Zone for this, is plastic availability. So when it comes to plastic options, for a lot of people, you can find a mold that you don't necessarily love in certain plastic types, but in other plastics, it's amazing. For instance, with Lone Star discs, I love the Nimitz and the Bravo plastic, but the Alpha plastic feels super icky in my hand. The Pig, notoriously, basically only comes in R Pro plastic, which is a premium baseline, like a rubber blend baseline disc. Because of that, it beats in to fly really straight, and that's how Precious Child was born. However, finding premium plastic pigs can be very difficult, if not impossible. And the Zone comes in pretty much every single plastic combination that Discraft could have ever dreamed up. I feel like every ledgestone drop has at least 2 or 3 runs of Zones in it and a multitude of different special plastics. All right, so here we are, hole 18. 229 feet, it's just right there. One of the big things that we're gonna try to do here, if you're gonna try to send it across the water, you can see ripping water. Thinking about going outside line and letting it flex, but I bet I'll pull that over. Okay, that one's in the water. It's also in the water. All right, literally over 20 minutes later, we retrieved them. Great call, Justin, on not throwing the Tempo. So final shots, final thoughts. What do we think about these? This could be the cop-out, but I think for the Toro, I would give it a best for beginner stamp of approval. For the Tactic, I would give it a best for beginner stamp of approval. For the Tempo, I'm gonna surprise people and say that I would give it for beginners a best for beginners stamp of approval. Look, here's the deal, guys. I opened this video by saying, and really, I'm not a Zone guy. I wish I could be, but considering all the plastics and options it comes in, it doesn't feel good in my hand. On backhand, it's hard to argue that any other disc flew better for me today on backhand than the Tempo did. Now, part of that is why I would recommend this one as the best for beginners option, is because I would say that it is the least overstable of them. Of the three, probably the best beginner option right out the gate, but the other two give you room to grow into. I think that the Toro is the most overstable of all three options presented, and the Toro, because of that, makes it super reliable, which is what we're looking for in this shot. The Tactic has the biggest depth out of all of these, and if there was any of these three that honestly would intrigue me into playing it, I think the Tactic would have the biggest shot at getting in the bag. This felt super good to throw today. I very much enjoyed giving it a rip, even though the score didn't reflect it, you know. And this one went in the water. Like, we can very easily see where the Tactic lost. I grip locked it, threw it straight in the water, took a 5 on that hole, when the Tempo got 3 strokes alone on that hole. The Toro got 2 strokes on that hole. Tough look for the Tactic there, but yeah, these are my thoughts of these three options. Which do you prefer? And if you're a zone thrower, which I know there's going to be lots of you in the comments, and you're going to be like, oh, I can't believe you baited me into this. What's your favorite plastic? If you were trying to sell the zone, give us the elevator pitch of the zone down in the comments below. It's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this Best for Beginner series. That means we are heading off to 5 speeds next. What 5 speeds do you want to see? Hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. But for now, it's like, I forgot I had to say this real fast because I recently met Kevin Fodry, known as Hyzer, on the old, I guess I met him at the expo in person, but Hyzer is his Instagram handle. It's right here. And he owns Cardinal Disc Golf, and he hooked me up with this Stacy Ronsley jersey. And y'all, it's pretty comfortable. So I think I have a link. I'll put that down below. Anyways, hope you have a great rest of the day. Make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.